Am I the butthole for refusing to punish or allow my wife to punish our son? This all started back in March. My son's best friend turned 13. In his family, 13th birthday is a huge deal. In addition to a massive party, which all four of us were invited to, his parents also took him to Disney World. They invited my son to attend as well. My wife was hesitant to consent to this. She said it was unfair to allow our son to go when our 9-year-old daughter can't. Especially since she loves Disney and princesses. I said that our kids won't always have the exact same opportunities, and if we set a precedent here, we'll have to stick to it if and when our daughter gets a similar opportunity. So we'd just be punishing both our children needlessly. My wife reluctantly agreed that we should allow our son to go. I gave our son money to buy his sister souvenirs. He did, and his friend's parents even bought extra stuff for him to give to her. Still, when she saw him come back wearing a Star Wars shirt with the Mickey hat and trading pin lanyard, she burst into tears. My wife later said we made a huge mistake and never should have let him go. I, mistakenly, thought all of that was behind us. Now, we are not well off financially, but my bill is, and he invited all of us to visit a beach house he rented for a summer send-off. My wife told me she wants to have our son stay with my dad and just take out daughter to even the score. I told my wife that isn't happening. We are their parents. We can't favor one child over the other. Not being invited to the birthday trip of a kid you barely know is in no way comparable to being left out of a family vacation, and I'm shocked she would even suggest such a thing. I refuse to allow it. Now my wife is angry, but I don't care. I'm not punishing my son for being lucky. AmITheA? NTA. Your wife sounds like she has a clear favorite out of the two kids and isn't afraid to show it. Of course your son should go on vacation with you all. I'm shocked that she would want him to miss out. That's awful. Is she always this unkind to him? I'm not sure it's necessarily a favorite thing, though. I think Opie's wife has good intentions, they're just misdirected and immature, but in her mind she's making things fair. I think you're being more charitable than she deserves. I've reread the OP 3 times to see if I'm being unfair, but what comes across each time is that all that seems to matter to Opie's wife is how the daughter feels, even though I doubt the daughter would, unprompted, want her brother to be excluded from the family holiday or think that this would be an appropriate way to handle things. Can only say that I hope you're right and I'm wrong. My husband and I actually had this conversation recently. I come from a family that makes sure that every child is treated the exact same. I normalized this. Growing up, my 20-year-old cousin would get the same gift as the 10-year-old on Christmas. We all have matching pajamas, purses, etc. regardless of our personality. For clarity, the oldest is my husband's bio son from a previous marriage, and our youngest is my bio son from my previous marriage. My husband took our teen on a road trip earlier this year when the youngest was with his bio dad. I planned a trip to the beach with the youngest after his summer with his dad ended. My husband decided to do a second road trip with the oldest before school starts. I feel like a dumbass now, but I was frustrated that the teen got 2 trips while the little got 1. He literally had to explain to me that they weren't comparable and helped me break down why what my family did was odd. OP is NTA. Opie's wife has a broken normal meter. What makes her an AH here isn't the misunderstanding of how the world works. She's icing out her husband instead of having a conversation with him like an adult. She's not allowing him to understand her POV, and she's not open to understanding his. That's not how conflict works in a marriage. When I was 11 years old, I moved across the country to live with my dad for a year. During this time, my mom took my brother and her parents to both Universal Studios and Africa. They had a connecting flight in London too. They were visiting Africa so my grandfather could show them his hometown, and their connection in London meant my grandmother could share her history in the UK with him. I was hurt when I found out that they had done this without me, but it just wasn't feasible for me to go. Even though it's been over 8 years and I will never have the same experience. My grandfather died, and I will never be able to go to Africa with him. If my grandmother dies, I will never be able to see her country with her. I know I couldn't have gone anyways. You learn that sometimes you can't go on the trip, and you deal with it even if it means missing out on experiences you can never have again. Much more severe than just not going to Disney World as a child who probably wouldn't remember it anyways. I was an 8-year-old at Disneyland once. I don't remember very much of it despite having a great time in the moment. You can't always be perfectly equal between your children, because they will have different lives and different opportunities. Some you may not even see coming. My brother got to visit Ireland in grade 11, go to prom, tour his university, make friends on campus, etc. I had been looking forward to doing the same for years, but then COVID happened and trips shut down. I was excited for prom and it was cancelled for the same reason. I never got to tour my university, or even be on campus at all. Our lives turned out differently and there was nothing my mother could have done to make up for it. It's just something you learn to live with. All this to say, NTA. You can't punish your children for having different opportunities. They need to learn that they won't always be able to do things just because their sibling got to. It's the way of the world. NTA. But your wife? Whoa. When your daughter doesn't make varsity volleyball, will you pull your son from varsity baseball and punish him for making varsity the previous year, too? How about when your son makes partner, but your daughter doesn't? Oh. How about when your son has kids and your daughter miscarries? What will your wife do then? When the son gets into a college that the daughter didn't and is pressured to forego his education and future? I've seen more than a few posts about people not being able to celebrate or talk about their pregnancies in any way because a sibling or step-sibling couldn't get pregnant or had multiple miscarriages. Those stories always piss me off. I'm one. My brother's wife cut off the entire family because I had a baby. I'm the one in the family who has had multiple miscarriages. The last one left me hospitalized. Side note, skinny anti-choice person who is now perfectly fine with women being denied access to medical care. Thank goodness I live in a state where it's protected. I have celebrated each and every pregnancy in our immediate family and beyond because my sorrow doesn't take away from their joy and it gives me time to celebrate being an auntie. Some people have they need to work on, but it's on them to take care of their mental health, not burden it on everyone else. NTA. Die on this hill. You were 100% correct that your kids aren't going to receive the same opportunities in life. Daughter has to learn how to handle situations like this in life, because she's not always going to be treated the same or have the same opportunities as everyone around her, and she needs to learn to handle that with grace. Also, this is your family inviting you, like you said, not a child's friend. Your wife would be excluding your son from his entire family, which is just awful. Let your wife be angry about this, she's completely out of line. What a strange reaction. I wonder what the root of it really is. This needs to be about parenting a child, the daughter, to handle disappointments in a healthy way. Not to expect the world to cater to her and for it to only be fair. That expectation will screw up her worldview forever, not the being left out of things. That is a transient kid experience to learn from. Your wife is a danger to your daughter's emotional well-being to set her up like this. Info: does your wife like her son? What kind of mom excludes their child from a family vacation for no reason? Edit: the more I think about I'm appalled a mom could be so callous and cold to her gown son. Your son's mom is supposed to be his advocate and protector, not the person who hurts him emotionally. NTA. I'm curious if Opie's wife has a history of favoring her daughter over her son. What sort of parent punishes their child for having a best friend with generous parents? It's a weird take. NTA. You're right, the kids are different with their own set of friends and life opportunities. They can't and shouldn't be raised together all the time. Your wife is being incredibly unreasonable with that type of ask to even the score. Hope you get it worked out. NTA. Son doesn't need to be punished just because he got a privilege his sister didn't. Excluding him from a family vacation for some sort of justice is an absurd way of thinking.
That's all for today. If you want to hear more, hilarious, scary, devastating, jaw-dropping, heartwarming, amazing, Reddit content, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more content. Thanks and have a great day.